Hi, welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and welcome back to another dark romance book recommendation video. Hey you guys, welcome back. So as I said, I thought that I would do another dark romance book recommendation video since you guys really like that, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to be doing a deep dive into Webster. You guys know I love her. She's an amazing author. Every book that she writes that I read, I am like riveted from page one. I absolutely love her. I order all of my books from her website directly from her, and she's amazing. You get it in like 2 days. Her communication is on spot. She responds to you if you send out emails. She's also sent me a couple of books that I did just to be nice, and I just thought that was amazing, and she's super sweet, and I love it. And also, I'm really excited to report that I am going to be doing a collab interview for Webster this evening with Charles from Books on Stereo. And so I'll let you guys know when that's going to be up. It'll probably be like another month or something before it gets posted. So in preparation for that, I've been reading a lot of Webster, and I'm going to be reading more. So this will be part one. And I'll try to divide it according to like romantic suspense and taboo and, you know, enemies to lovers, so that way you guys know that there's a difference, but I'm going to call it all dark romance. Anyway, so I'm talking a lot. Let me just get into it. So the first book that I want to talk about is Notice. I absolutely loved this book. When you guys talk about, if you love obsessive heroes, if you like obsessive stalker type heroes that once they set their sights on you, don't let go, this is absolutely a story for you. This is the story of Violet and Grayson. So this is Violet and Grayson, and Grayson, he is Violet. Okay, so to start off, because I don't want to give away too much, but again, there's our dark themes. Violet has a very dark past. A lot of things have happened to her, so you got to check out the trigger warnings. Kate does a really good job of, in the beginning of each of her books, she gives you the warnings so you know what's going into. So, you know, there's certain sexual and violent themes that occur in this book, so if you're sensitive, just be aware. Violet has a very dark past. She's been exposed to a number of different things that have shaped her view of herself. When we meet her, she's working for a guy, and the guy she's working for doesn't see her and doesn't recognize her at all. Just doesn't see her value and doesn't see her worth. So she's like done with it. She's pissed off. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. And she gives her notice. And so everything is T-minus 14 days, and it ensues from there. And I absolutely love it. It is, from page one, you're riveted on the edge of your seat. Like I said, if you like an obsessive hero, if you like stalker types, if you like twisted romances, this book is absolutely for you. It's 5 out of 5 star. I cannot speak highly enough about it. I also like that Kay usually does an epilogue that sort of wraps everything up. The epilogue is like, you know, 5 years later, 7 years later, this is what's going on with everybody. And so you get to see things unfold over time. So you not only do you get to see what's happening with the characters now, but you see the psychology behind the characters in terms of how they got to be where they are and what shaped and formed them, and it sort of unfolds as the story goes. So there's so many layers to Kay's story. It's not just the romance, it's not just the suspense, it's not just the plot. Like, there's just depth and volume to it, and I absolutely love it. So check this out, Notice. Okay, so then the next thing that I want to recommend is that this is a duet, and it's Torn Apart and Bound Together, and oh my God, I absolutely love it. And it's kind of cool too, because when you get her stuff, like, she gives you like little plates, and I love this because this is the Ashton's Rainbow Barf, and it's Skittles, vodka, and Sprite, and it's what they drink in the book, but it's super awesome. So I'm not going to talk about this one because this ends on a cliffhanger for sure, so you need to know. It says Torn Apart is a full-length, mature novel, and it's like, why choose romance between friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, with a bit of with a bit of taboo thrown in there. So it's the story of, you've got 4 main characters that are going on in this story. It's Mia, and Mia is best friends with Ashton, and Ashton is gay. And they've been friends forever. And then you've also got Braden, and you've got Andrew. And so I'll say this. It starts off with Ashton, apparently they're all in college, so it's a college age story. Mia is in love with Ashton, her gay best friend, but she's not going to tell him, so she's keeping it to herself. So she's like, I'm sick of pining over him. I'm going to just go out and get my swerve on, get my groove on, and just kind of forget about him and just go do my thing. So she goes out with her friends to this club. She meets this hot guy. Like, everything is like steamy, and he's like, hey, do you want to go upstairs? She's like, yes, and she's all into it. And they go upstairs, and it all takes off from there. And when I want to say this is riveting, you're on the edge of your seat, you're rooting for these people. Like, every character in this book, you absolutely love each and every one of them. Ashton is funny and snarky, and he's got like lots of depth to him. You know, when you get to meet Braden and when you get to meet Andrew, and you're like, what's going on with their backstory? Something's up. There's, like I said, there's so many different layers going on, and you always have this negative character that's causing drama that, you know, like, you're like, I need to pay attention to him because he's going to do some stuff. So, you know, that character is in there as well. This also is a hockey romance. So there's hockey players, there's the swim guys from the swim team. So there's a sports romance element in here as well. And I gotta tell you, and these, I love her books because you can read these in like a couple hours, right? So I read these over like one evening and then the next morning, and I couldn't put it down. I was up until like 2 o'clock in the morning reading it. And this delivered in so many ways because it picks up right when this one leaves off. And so you get to find out what happens with all these characters, and I don't want to spoil it for you. Do not sleep on this. It's spicy, it's steamy, it's sexy. When you get into this book, you're like, I'm loving it. And I'm telling you, do not sleep on this. It's so, so good. Okay, then we're gonna go back to some oldies but goodies that I've talked about before on my channel, but I think, if you love dark romance, if you like romantic suspense, I'm gonna say Apartment 2B. I'm gonna call this romantic suspense, okay? Because this is the story of Sydney, and Sydney is abused by her mother, and she goes through a lot with her mother. And as a result of everything that she goes through with her mother, she just is like, you know what? I need to break out on my own, and I need to just step away. And, you know, I'm not going to say what happens with the mom, but something happens, and she's like, I'm going to go out and do my own thing. And so, as a result of everything that she went through with her mom, again, she's another obsessive person, right? She has rules, she has routines, she has structures, she has things that she follows, and she meets the guy next door, and the guy next door really takes her out of her comfort zone because she struggles to feel human, and he's the only person that helps her to really feel like she's a real person. And as a result, some things happen, and it definitely is a romantic suspense. And I gotta tell you, it is so, so beautiful. I love it. She's had, you know, because she's had such a rough life, her mom was so incredibly abusive, you know, she struggles to feel human. And when she meets this guy next door, he like brings out all the best in her, and only to find out that there's something strange going on with him, and she's got to figure out what that all means, and that means she's got to step outside of her comfort zone to figure it out. It delivers in so many ways. Really, really, really good. Another 5 out of 5 star. So let me not go there yet. Let me go here. So Dirty Ugly Toy, I love this because, again, this is another, Kay writes broken heroes really, really well. This is, again, violence and strong sexual themes. She gives you your warning. You need to check it out and make sure you know what's happening. And so this guy, I don't remember the characters' names, but they, like, when you look at the chapters, he calls her him and then her. And I think if I remember, his name is Braxton, and I can't remember her name, but I don't remember. But I gotta tell you, so he basically has a history of abuse and neglect and a drug-addicted mother. And as a result of the things that he experienced with his drug-addicted mother, he chooses women that are his dirty, ugly toy. This is definitely a BDSM type situation where the character uses BDSM to heal himself and to heal others. Again, he's an obsessive hero, just like every other obsessive hero in all of these books. And he's trying to work through the demons that are within him. And when he picks her, so the book starts off with that he's tired of his previous toy, and the contract is up, and he is going to dispose of her. And they take her off, and it seems like when they take her off, they dispose of, like literally dispose of her, like they kill her, and then that's it, right? And so then they go and find a new one for him, and he kidnaps her, and he takes her hostage, and he makes her sign a contract as to that she agrees to be his slave, basically, in this situation, and the story takes off from there. And oh my God, it is so good. It is like a page turner. Like you're gonna be like, you're like suck it all up. Like it's amazing. You're not gonna want to put it down. Like I said, you're gonna be on the edge of your seat. It's steamy, it's spicy. You're just like, oh my God. But it's like you see the healing and you see the recovery that's happening, and you're there with it for all the characters. And I don't even know what else to say. You're gonna love it. So that's that. So this series is the first series of Webster that I first heard about. And I was like, when I first heard about it, all I needed to hear was it was a banned book and that it was banned on Amazon. I was like, banned book? I was like, ooh, that sounds like something my twisted brain. I was like, absolutely. Let me go in. And they were like, and if you want it, you can only get it from the author's website. I was like, oh yes, let me. And so it's short, right? Like you can read it in no time. And I am telling you that this is absolutely a taboo story that takes place in the Alaska wild. It is, you know, there's a bit of romantic suspense in it, in the sense that like you don't know, you know, the main story of what's going on between this father and daughter and his wife, and when they set off to the Alaskan wilderness in terms of what happens. But there also is a split timeline between going back and forth between now and what happened in the past. There also is a component of there's these wild men that are in the wilderness where they live, and so they're trying to figure out what's going on with them. There's this one guy that sort of comes in every 6 months that the dad has corresponded to check on them with, and so he's sort of in play as well. And I want to say that again, it's strong sexual themes. It might be offensive. It is definitely, and there's an age gap here, and it's daddy kink, and it's everything. But I'm telling you, if you stick with it, even though you feel like this is taboo, and what the hell am I reading, and why did I get myself into this? If you stick with it to the end, I'm telling you, you're gonna be really, really pleased and pleasantly surprised that you did. And it's so amazing and so worth it, and a 5 out of 5 star. But read the trigger warnings, so you need to check it out and make sure that you're prepared for what you're getting into. And then the next book in the series is Freed. And Freed is that dude that I told you that comes and checks on them, that the dad was corresponding with. This is his story. You see some cameos from the characters here in this book as well. This is supposed to be taboo in the sense that this is a girl that is wild, and she was raised in the wilderness by her family, and her brothers abused her whole life. And as a result of the abuse and neglect that she experienced at the hands of her brothers, she then, you know, does something and gets away from them, and she's basically found and brought into civilized society. But she's never been in she's never worn clothes ever. So how can she be part of civilized society if she's never even worn clothes? So it's that level of complexity, and there's a taboo component to it as things sort of develop. It's very, very interesting, really, really well done, definitely worth a read. Not quite as good as this, so I gave this a 4 star, but this is a 5 star for sure. Okay, so this one for sure, Whispers and Roars. All of these books, like I said, are by Webster. Whispers and Roar is definitely a romantic suspense in that you've got two characters that have been friends. It's a childhood friends to lovers type situation. There's Katie, who is the main character, and then her counterpart is Yao. And this story is deep because you're trying to figure out what the heck is happening, because Katie definitely suffers from some level of mental illness and you don't know what's going on, but she's been abused and has a lot going on. So like I said, you need to check out the trigger warnings, but Yao is going to stick in there with her through thick and thin. It is not the typical romance. Again, there's trigger warnings, so you need to check out the trigger warnings to know what you're getting into. But I'm telling you, it's so worth it. His family deters her because Yao comes from this really prestigious, wealthy family. He's gone off to medical school. They have high hopes for him in this town that they live in. And Katie comes from this poor, impoverished background. This is a book that I think about to this day. This book and Wild, I think about both of these books often in terms of what they brought to the table. But this book is, when I say romantic suspense, you're trying to figure out what's going on. And once you figure it out, you're like, oh my God, my heart is there. It is amazing. It has lots of depth and lots of layers to it. And if you haven't read it and if you haven't checked it out, please do, because it is a 5 out of 5 star for sure. Really, really good. And then the last book that I want to talk about is another Taboo book. I absolutely loved it. It's not for everybody. It's Hale, and Hale is the story of a brother and a sister falling in love. Hands down, they fall in love. And the sister was diagnosed with a mental illness because they thought that she had a mental illness because of the way she behaved, but the way that she behaved is because she thought that she was crazy because she had these repressed feelings for her brother her whole life. And as a result of these feelings that she had for her brother her whole life, she didn't know how to handle that and she didn't know what to do with that. And as she basically comes to terms with how she's feeling and comes to terms with what's going on with her, then you start to understand that she didn't have mental illness at all. Like, she just had these twisted feelings that she didn't know what to do with. And it is a heavy, heavy story. It's not easy to read, but it's really good nonetheless. And the way that Kay handled it and the way that it all sort of works itself out is amazing. And it's so good, and it's definitely worth a read. It's a short read, easy to get into, and I highly suggest that you check it out. Okay, you guys, so that is all that I have. Like I said, this is going to be part 1 of my deep dive into Kay Webster. I'm going to finish off the rest of the books that I have on my TBR for Kay Webster, so I'll do part 2 in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to kind of do some author sort of deep dives like this and see if you guys like that, and try to categorize them as either dark romances or paranormal or things like that, and we'll see how that goes. But that's what I'm doing for right now. So you guys, you know I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.